Another year is about to pass. And if you're honest, really honest, you're going to end it in almost exactly the same place you started it. Same frustrations, same unfinished goals, same quiet, background feeling that something needs to change, but somehow never does. That's not an accusation. It's a pattern, and patterns have reasons. Here's what's worth understanding. Most people don't fail to change because they're lazy or undisciplined. They fail because they keep applying surface-level fixes to structural problems. New year, new journal, new gym membership, same unexamined life underneath. The philosopher Socrates reportedly said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Most people have heard that quote. Far fewer have actually stopped to examine anything. This video is not a pep talk. It's not a highlight reel of someone else's transformation designed to make you feel temporarily inspired before you go back to exactly what you were doing. It's 5 specific, uncomfortable, practical areas of life that may need your attention before another 12 months disappear, and what you can actually do about each one. Stay for every point. I want you to notice something as we go. Each one builds on the last. Skip one, and the next one makes less sense. Stay for all 5, and something might click in a way it hasn't before. Like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs this exact message right now. Subscribe to this channel, and please, don't skip any part of this video. Let's get into it. Number 1. Stop waiting for motivation and build a system instead. Motivation is not a personality trait. It's a mood. And here's the problem with building your life around a mood. Moods are unreliable. They shift with sleep quality, with weather, with a single difficult conversation. If your plan to change your life depends on feeling like doing it, you've already built the plan on sand. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, makes a distinction that's worth sitting with. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Most people set goals obsessively, lose 20 pounds, save $5,000, read 12 books, but they never design the system that makes those outcomes predictable. So the goal gets revisited at the same time next year, slightly more disappointing than before. A system is simply a recurring structure. Same time, same trigger, same sequence. Not heroic, not exciting, just consistent enough that it happens even when you don't feel like it. You don't wait to feel like going to the gym. You go at 7 a.m. on Tuesday and Thursday because that's what Tuesday and Thursday mean now. The motivation, interestingly, often follows the action rather than preceding it. The waiting is the trap. It feels like patience. It functions like avoidance. Build the system this week. Not next Monday. Not January 1st. This week. Number 2. Audit the relationships that are quietly draining you. This one is uncomfortable, and it's the one most self-improvement content skips, probably because it implicates people we care about. Social psychology has long suggested that the people you spend consistent time with shape your beliefs, your behaviors, and your sense of what's normal, often without any conscious exchange of ideas. Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler's research on social contagion appeared to show that behaviors like smoking cessation, weight gain, and even happiness could spread through social networks up to 3 degrees of separation. The people around you are not just company. They are, in a measurable sense, environmental input. So the question worth asking, honestly, is this: when you leave certain conversations, do you feel more capable or less? More clear about what you want or more confused? Some relationships refuel you. Others quietly take something without ever announcing that they're doing it. This is not about cutting people off dramatically or keeping a mental scoreboard of who gives more than they take. It's subtler than that. It's about noticing the pattern, about recognizing which relationships are characterized by mutual growth and which ones seem to require you to stay small in order for the other person to feel comfortable. You cannot build a different life while surrounding yourself exclusively with people whose identity is built around the life you're trying to leave. That's not harsh. It's just how influence works. Number 3, get financially honest, even if it's painful. Most people know, in a vague and uncomfortable way, that their finances need attention. What they don't do is actually look. There's a psychological phenomenon called financial avoidance, the tendency to not check bank balances, avoid opening bills, and generally refuse to engage with the specific numbers of one's financial life. Behavioral economist Shlomo Benartzi has described this as a form of anticipatory anxiety management. If you don't look, You can't feel the full weight of what you see. The problem is that avoidance doesn't change the numbers. It just means you're navigating without information. Warren Buffett, not typically cited as a philosopher, but occasionally useful in that direction, has said that someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. The financial decisions you avoid making right now are simply the tree you won't be sitting under in 10 years. That's not punishment. It's just compounding, working in reverse. Getting financially honest means sitting down with the actual numbers. What comes in? What goes out? What you owe? What you own? Not an approximate, comfortable sense of those things. The specific figures, on paper, without looking away. From that foundation, even small adjustments, automating a modest savings transfer, eliminating one recurring subscription you forgot you had, reducing one category of spending by 15%, can begin shifting the trajectory. The discomfort of looking is real. It's also temporary. The discomfort of not looking compounds for years. Number 4. Identify the one pattern that keeps repeating. Every person has one. A pattern that shows up in different costumes, but is essentially the same story, playing out again and again. The relationship that ends the same way as the last one. The job left for the same reason the previous one was. The project started with intensity and abandoned at the exact same stage of difficulty. The argument that has the same shape regardless of who it's with. Different characters, same script. Carl Jung described this with unsettling precision. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most people experience their repeating patterns as bad luck, bad timing, or other people's failures. The possibility that the pattern has a consistent architect, themselves, is genuinely difficult to sit with. But sitting with it may be the most useful thing a person can do before another year passes. Consider a man named David who changed careers 3 times in 4 years. Each time, the exit was framed differently. The company's culture, the industry's limitations, an opportunity elsewhere. But when he finally wrote out the timeline in detail, he noticed that he left each role at exactly the point where mastery became possible, where he would have had to stop being a beginner and start being accountable for results. The pattern wasn't bad luck. It was a very consistent, very understandable fear of being fully seen as capable. Naming the pattern doesn't dissolve it immediately, but you cannot interrupt something you haven't identified. Look for the repeat. It's there. Number 5. Decide what kind of person you are becoming right now. Everything in this video leads here. Systems matter. Relationships matter. Financial honesty matters. Pattern recognition matters. But all of it is logistical without this. A clear, chosen answer to the question, who am I in the process of becoming? Not who you were. Not who other people think you should be. Not the version of yourself that exists when conditions are perfect. The person you are choosing, through daily action and daily decision, to gradually become. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset appears to indicate that the single most influential factor in long-term personal development is whether a person believes their qualities are fixed or changeable. People who believe they can develop, through effort, through learning, through deliberate practice, tend to respond to setbacks differently, persist longer, and achieve measurably more than those who believe their character is essentially set. Identity is not a discovery, it's a construction, and the building material is the small decisions you make when no one is watching. The commitment you kept even though you were tired. The boundary you held even though it was uncomfortable. The morning you showed up to the work even when the motivation wasn't there. Each of those moments is a brick. The question is, what are you building? A year from now, you'll be a year older regardless of what you choose tonight. The only variable is whether the person who shows up at the end of that year is the one you chose deliberately or the default version that arrived by accident. Choose deliberately, starting now, not after the next holiday, not after things calm down, not when life gets easier. It doesn't get easier, it gets different, and you either grow into it or you don't. 5 points, and not one of them was easy to hear, I suspect. Stop outsourcing your progress to motivation and build a structure that functions without it. Examine honestly which relationships are contributing to the version of yourself you want to build, and which ones require you to stay unchanged. Look at the actual financial numbers, because avoidance is not neutrality, it's just delayed consequence. Find the repeating pattern in your life and name it before it writes another year of your story. And then, perhaps most importantly, decide who you are becoming and start making decisions from that identity today. None of this requires a new year, a new month, or a Monday. It requires a decision made right now, in the specific moment you're sitting in. The theologian and writer Thomas à Kempis wrote in the 15th century, "What doth it profit thee to enter into deep discussion concerning the Holy Trinity, if thou lack humility?" Stripped of its theological context, the structure of that observation applies here with precision. What does it profit you to consume endless self-improvement content, to watch video after video, to feel temporarily inspired, if nothing in your actual daily life changes by Thursday? The gap between knowing and doing is where most lives quietly stall. This video was about narrowing that gap. What you do in the next 24 hours is the only part that matters now. If this video landed for you, like it, not as a courtesy, but because it helps this content find the people who genuinely need it. Leave a comment. Tell me which of the 5 points felt most personal to you. I read them more than you'd think. Share this with someone who's been stuck in the same place for too long and hasn't quite found the language for why. And subscribe to this channel, because this is the work we do here, consistently and without shortcuts. Another year is coming. The question is simply whether you'll arrive at its end different or just older.